I believe was chapter 8. We had just finished, or nearly had just finished. And to just recap for a moment, there's a scene there where Rune, on pages 69, I think it's just 69, where Rune on page 69 admits a few things about himself. Knows he's a screw-up, knows he's a bumbler, but says, I'm trying. He says, if it hadn't been for me, you wouldn't be in this plight. This is top of 69. And I'm afraid you're right. It's my fault things turned out as they did. I can only ask for your forgiveness. I'm not the cleverest person in the world. He even goes on, but I hate being a blunderer. It's not what people expect of a prince. I didn't ask to be born into the royal house. That at least wasn't my doing. But since I was, I want to be very worthy of it. And Taran, I don't want to put that. Taran kind of gets his face pushed in it with those words, because what has he thought of Rune up until this point?
He's a family idiot.
Yeah, he's a walking, blundering idiot. So he says, if you want to, then you shall. Not a little ashamed of his own unkind thoughts about Rune. I ask your own forgiveness. If I envied your rank, it was because I believed you held it as a lucky gift and took it for granted. You speak the truth. For a man to be worthy of any rank, he must strive first to be a man. Rune, yeah, that's what I mean. That's why we must rejoin the master of horse as soon as we can, don't you see? I mean, I wanted to be the one to rescue her. After all, I'm betrothed to her. Oh, you know about that. Okay. So, at the end of that chapter, Caw shows up, and Caw, cries out, Alonwe, Alonwe. And we'd actually done all that, hadn't we? Because we'd done the cavern. Did we do the cavern?
I think we got
I
this
think we're
started.
on chapter 13. At least that's what I'm
Oh my. Okay, and I did not bring Taran Wanderer with me, and I should have. Okay, I thought we were further back, but no, we weren't. That's right, because we did discuss they meet up with Glue, and Glue offers them a way out, and the only way they can go out is if one of them offers to, stay back, essentially to be a sacrifice.
And Prince Rune.
And Rune offers for it to be him. That's right. 105, Rune says, we need only do as Glue suggests, and the others can be on their way. Fluter, top of the next page. Do you expect that feeble worm to keep his word? I would trust him every bit, as much as I would trust Mag. Rune, nevertheless, we can't be sure until we try. Gurgi volunteers. Yes, he will give his poor tender head for broilings and boilings. And then Rune volunteers, page 107. Fluter, bottom of 106. Taran says, certainly you don't mean we take Glue's bargain. Certainly not, says Fluter. I shall stand sword in hand and smite the little fellow about the knee, since I can't reach his head. I only mean to point out the risks. As far as this ridiculous idea of having us choose among ourselves is concerned, I don't think it even worth a thought. Rune, I do. Taran turns in surprise. It's the only thing that will satisfy Glue, said Rune, and for that I think it's a very cheap bargain. Taran, no life can be so cheaply held. That is, no life can be thought so insignificant that you would give it up for this kind of deal. Rune, I'm afraid you're wrong. He smiled and shook his head. I've thought a great deal about this since we've been in the cavern, and there's no sense not facing facts. In other words, come on, Taran, let's look at things as they really are. All right? I don't see that I've been any help whatsoever. Right? What help has he been on the hunt for Eilonwy? He got lost. Led Taran and Fluter and Gurgi away. Got them stuck in this cavern. Everything's been his fault. On the contrary, I brought nothing but ill luck. Not that I meant to, but it seems that's the way of it with me. That is, I don't intend to be a screw up, it just naturally happens. He says, so if any of us can be dispensed with, why I should have to say that person is myself. That is, if any life can be so cheaply held, it's me. It's true, Rune quickly went on, disregarding Taryn's cry of protest. I'm delighted to be of some use for once. That is, I can finally do something that helps somebody else, especially if it will help Eilonwy. I assure you I won't mind in the slightest. As Glue says, it'll only take a moment. Okay? So what's he offering?
Himself.
To do what?
To stay back and be the sacrifice.
To stay back, to die.
Turn to a potion.
Yeah. To try a potion, actually. Or, yeah, to be used in a potion. Okay? He's offering to stay back and die so that the others can live. There's not one of you who wouldn't give up his life for a companion, Rune said. Fluter Flam offered his life for ours in Leon's lair. They didn't know that he wouldn't get killed there. Even now, poor Gergie is willing to offer his. A bard, a humble creature of the forest, an assistant pig keeper. Rune's eyes met Taryn's, and in a low voice he said, can a prince do less? That is, shouldn't a prince offer more than any of these other three types? I doubt I should ever really be able to measure up to being a true prince, except in this. He's saying, this is what being a prince is all about. What does he mean by prince? Does he mean literally the son of a king?
I was talking one of nobleness.
Nobility.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, I think it goes along with the way Taryn thinks of royal blood and like being a princess has a lot to do with honor. So I think this is his way of trying to show his honor that he deserves to be.
That's exactly right. What does the sword of Durnwyn have on it? Only one of noble worth. Initially, it was translated as birth. Okay, he's trying to show his noble worth here. Okay. Taryn looked at Rune for a long moment. You speak of measure. That is, how do you measure? How do you judge princeliness? I had measured you as no more than a feckless princeling. Little prince. I was wrong. You are a truer prince and better man than ever I believed. Truer prince means you embody really more the idea of what a prince ought to be and ought to do than I ever believed. But this sacrifice is not yours to make. You know my oath to your father. That is, I can't let you do anything to harm yourself, because I promised your father I'd bring him back alive. Prince Rune. Indeed, a heavy oath. Very well, I shall lift it from you. It's astonishing, but I wonder what became of all the bats. That is, you no longer have to do this. That is, your oath was between yourself and my father about protecting me, and I was not knowing about the oath. Now I do know about the oath. You don't have to worry about it. Still doesn't technically free him, but... And then he notices what?
The bats are gone.
Where'd the bats go? Kind of interesting because, bats usually fly around until they find an opening and they go out the opening. Go see the extra credit thing that I posted the other day. And you'll see about, midway through, well, you won't actually, because I don't know if there are any bats at the Franklin place. If you had seen the production at Centennial Park, about midway through either of the plays, the bats would start coming out from the band shell. And just throughout the rest of the play, they're flying around the actors and all that kind of stuff. Taryn, they're gone. And so they talk about that for a while, and they start to wonder why the bats are gone. And then they realize there's a passage. Okay? How are they going to get through it? Well, they've got to trick glue. So I'm going to skip a bunch. Go on to chapter 14. I'll take that back. Go back to the end of 13. As they're all running to escape, 114, 115, Glue cries out, "Please, please, I beg you, don't make things worse than they are. Even now I shall have to boil my potion again. Have you no consideration, no thought for anyone else?" Kind of interesting him saying that. And the giant reaches to seize Terran. Terran raises his sword high above his head, and golden rays burst around him. Glue claps his hands to his eyes. Why? He's been living in the dark for so long. Any light hurts. And we see there's Rune standing at the entrance to the chamber, holding the little bauble, which is blazing. And Rune says, "Ho, ho. Never been so surprised in my life. I didn't mean to disobey orders, but after I'd crawled out of the passage, I just couldn't leave you there to be cooked up. Simply couldn't do it. I kept thinking to myself, none of you would have gone running off. You aren't angry, are you?" And Terran says, "You saved our lives." Why is the bauble blazing?
Because Reuben was thinking of his friends.
Yeah, he wasn't thinking of himself. Right? So they try to decide what they should do with Glue, 117. Terran says, "Leave him. I know he tried to kill us, but I still pity the wretched creature and mean to ask Dalbin if he can help him," which we get to the end of the novel and we find out he does. So skipping another page or so, they pick up the book. And 119, what do they see? "And there it is," shouted the prince. He picked up the book and carefully examined it. "Hope it isn't damaged. All that scrambling about might have torn the pages." And he looks at it, starts flipping through it. He says, "I say that it is a shame. It's ruined, all covered with scratchings and markings. Whatever could have happened." Now, how is he looking at the book? He's got the book and he's got the bauble. The bauble shining light on the book. He put the leather-bound volume into Terran's hand. "Look, what a pity." Terran looks, but his eyes widen at the sight of the pages. He says, "Rune, these are more than scratchings. It's written. I thought the page is empty." "Rune, so had I." Okay. Fluter calls out to them. Terran says, "It's the book we found in Glue's hut." Fluter says, "Don't worry about that. Worry about Glue. He's beginning to stir. Move along or we'll all end up in one of his potions." Okay. So they're trying to figure out the book, the bauble. 120. Fluter says, "After what we've been through, I can understand your wanting to jest, but this is hardly the moment for it. Terran, I do not jest. The pages were empty as they always had been. The writing," he says, "it's gone." Okay. As Terran goes to Fluter, "My friend," says the bard gently, "your eyes have played you ill. At the river will put cool claws on your head." He thinks Terran's been seeing things. "Rune, no, it's true. I saw it myself. There was no mistake. The bauble was shining straight on the pages." Again, who says that? Rune. Does he understand what it means? No, Terran does. Can it be? As the light blossoms in his hand, he holds it so its rays bathe the pages, and there's the writing again. Okay? Page 121. Fluter thinks we should destroy the book. Drop it in the river. Regret to say I can't read it. Terran says, if Glue spoke the truth, it comes from a place of enchantments. But what can it tell us? I'm not going to destroy it. Can't explain. I feel as though I touched a secret. Strange, like a moth that brushes your hand, flutters away again. Okay? So they go on, and Terrence says to Rune, you should be proud of yourself. Did you seek to prove yourself a true prince? You have done so. Rune, well, maybe. Doesn't seem a bit as important as it did. Astonishing but true. Why not? Why doesn't it seem as important as it did before?
Because there's other things that he must do besides just proving himself to be a prince.
Okay.
Go get Ilon.
He's kind of saying, well, I thought it would be harder. What did he do to prove himself a prince?
Just say he sacrificed.
He was himself. Yeah. Yeah, he was himself. He didn't act like a prince. That's what Taryn's been thinking, for example, about a prince all along, that you should act princely. Well, Rin does that naturally, just as Gwydion does naturally in his own way. Okay? So they keep talking as they go on. They keep talking about the bauble and the book, and wondering why the writing only shines when the bauble shows on it. And Fluter says, well, I don't know very much about enchanted devices. Top of 123. He says, Eilonwy, of course, has the gift of making it light when she pleases. She's half an enchantress, and the bauble does belong to her. For someone else, I wonder if it might have to do with, how shall I put it, not even thinking about it, or about yourself. And he kind of starts to understand how it works. What I mean, he says, is if I can do this, if I can find the way for us, what did the bauble do? Zip. If I can do this. Okay? Taryn, perhaps you have the truth of it. At first I felt you did. Then I remember thinking of Eilonwy, only of her, and the bauble burst into light. Rune was ready to lay down his life. That is, obviously not thinking of himself. His thoughts were for our safety, not at all for his own. And because he offered the greatest sacrifice, the bauble glowed brightest for him. Can that be its secret? To think more for others than ourselves? Fluter seems to be one of them. And if once you've discovered that, you've discovered a great secret indeed, with or without the bauble. Notice what Alexander has just done. He's taught a very important moral or virtue, humility. To think of others before oneself. Okay? So they go on. Chapter 15, we're back to, and we see Gwydion. And they meet up with Gwydion. And page 127. Gwydion tells them he's failed to save Eilonwy so far. But Mag has shown up. And in 127, Gwydion says, I went out to the island, I watched, kind of examined it. And Terence says, so we can attack them now. We have enough. Towards the bottom of that page, Gwydion says, this task calls for strength of a different nature. Swords are not all we shall have to fear. In other words, Terran hears strength and he thinks brawn. He thinks muscle. Gwydion's talking about a different kind of strength. There is much I have not told you of this matter, and much that I myself did not know. Even now the riddle is not fully answered. But I have learned that Ockran's plans are deeper than I had imagined, and Eilonwy's plight graver. She must be taken from Cair Colur, that is the island she's trapped on, before it's too late. Terence says, let us go with you. Okay? So, 128 and 29, they tell Gwydion about the bauble and the book with the writing. And he says, when they show him the book with the writing, because, Terran kind of holds the bauble, covers it up with his coat so that the people on Cair Colur can't see it. The light comes on, he shows the book to Gwydion. And Gwydion says, to read this is beyond my power, but I recognize it for what it is. The greatest treasure of the house of Lear. Who is of the house of Lear? Eilonwy. Does it belong to Eilonwy? She's the last princess, he goes on. It's hers by blood right. But there's more you must understand. For generations, the daughters of the house of Lear were among the most skillful enchantresses in Prydain. Okay? How many other enchanters or enchantresses have we met?
Just a couple.
Dalban. And Ockran. The three, whatever they are. Witches or beautiful maidens, because they're one or the other. Okay?
And Gwydion has some tricks himself.
Gwydion has a little practice. Using their powers with wisdom and kindliness. In their fastness at Cair Colur were stored all their treasures, magical devices and charmed implements, whose nature even I don't know. Okay? He says, the Chronicles give only hints about these things, but the lore tells of an enchantment known only as the Golden Peladrin, handed down from mother to daughter, and of a book holding all the secrets of those magical devices and many potent spells. He says, Bakir was abandoned, fell into ruins after Angharad, daughter of Rhaegat, fled the castle. All at once, And the book of spells, which she carried away with her, was also lost. Of the Golden Peladrin, nothing's known. And he says, here's the Golden Peladrin, and here's the book, who, by the way, was Angharad, daughter of Rhaegat. That's Eilonwy's mother. Eilonwy believed she had been sent to live with Othran and studied to be an enchantress. Not true. Othran stole her, kidnapped her. Taryn, did Othran fail to recognize the Golden Peladrin? If she knew its nature, why did she leave it in Eilonwy's possession? Because she dared not do otherwise. She knew Eilonwy's heritage. She recognized the Peladrin, but also knew it would lose its power if taken forcibly from its rightly owner. The Book of Spells had vanished. Well, then, how did Glue use the Book of Spells? Or did he? Okay. Taryn, and without even realizing it, Glue was the one who gained the Book of Spells. Poor, foolish creature who thought himself cheated. So he was. Gwydion, he could not have seen the hidden writing without the light of the Golden Peladrin. The spells obey only a daughter of the House of Lear. Eilonwy alone has the inborn skill to read them, though not before she herself has reached the threshold of womanhood. Taryn could tell that it was writing when he held the bauble so that it shone on the book. He can't read the writing. Fluter can't read the writing. Taryn, okay, then Eilonwy is safe. If she alone can waken the spells, Othran won't harm her. So he's thinking, we've got kind of two aces of spades. We've got the Peladrin, we've got the book. All we need now is Eilonwy. Othran's not going to harm her. Okay. Gwydion, could be she's in even greater danger than we thought. So, they row across to the island, and Gwydion tells them, stay here, I'll go first, find where the guards are posted. And we're told Gwydion, Taryn, rested his head on his arms. His thoughts turned again and again to Eilonwy and to the words of Gwydion. He could barely bring himself to believe the slender, laughing girl could command powers, perhaps as strong as those of Othran. Soon, soon, he told himself, Eilonwy would be free. But as his impatience grew, so did his fear. He looked for a sign of Gwydion. Okay? Why is he thinking, let me rephrase that. Is there more to his thinking that soon, Eilonwy would be free? Free to what?
Free to be with him.
Is that it? Free to be with him, free to practice her enchantments.
Free to be who she's meant to be.
Free to be who she's meant to be or become what she's meant to become. Okay. Gwydion comes back and Taryn says, I will rescue her. Didn't know it was supposed to thunder today. She will be your betrothed. It was your wish that you, that I would prove my valor to the princess. He goes, no. You do it. You rescue her. I'm quite content proving it to myself. Okay? So, before Taryn leaves, Gwydion says, 134, I know what is in your heart. Climb up, assistant pig keeper. I leave this task to you. He knows Taryn has feelings for her, and he knows Taryn doesn't really want to give her up to Rune. But Taryn gets up there, and he says to Eilonwy, Gurgi is here, Fluter, Prince Rune, all of us. Gwydion, and she doesn't recognize him. Why not?
She did a spell.
That's right, she's enchanted. Okay, so he's like, come on, it's me. So he tries to take her. Bottom of 138, top of 39. He mentions that he's the assistant pig keeper because she talks about a dream. Okay. Could it have been an assistant pig keeper? Very bottom of the page. I wonder what became of him. Taryn, he's here now. Hello, you. He has long sought you in ways even he himself did not know. He's talking about his heart. Now that he has found you, can you not find your path back to him? She gets on her feet. Okay. And she says, nah, it's just a dream. She strikes Taryn. She raises the guards. Bottom of 140. Taryn and the others attack. Mag spins around. Fluter had broken away from the press of warriors and was racing at top speed. What has Fluter already said repeatedly he's going to do to Mag? Because Mag made him sleep in the stables. A king. Okay? Said he's going to take care of him. Chapter 17. Spells of Care Kalur. We're obviously going to get out of here early today. Akron tells him, put down your weapons, or essentially she'll kill Eilonwy. Page 144. Gwydion says, unloose the Princess Eilonwy from your spell. Return her to us, and you shall depart unhindered. You offer me safety when your own peril is greatest? You were rash even to set foot on Cair Calur. Now the more hopeless your plight, the bolder your words. Pity that one such as you scorned to be my consort and rule with me when the chance was given. Okay, we hadn't actually heard that part before. She's got the hots for Gwydion, essentially. Unloose the girl, Akron goes on. No, Lord Gwydion, she will serve me as I planned. My spells are not the only ones to bind her. You know her ancestry, the blood of enchantresses that flows in her veins. Cair Calur itself has long awaited its princess. In other words, her enchantment, and in fact her very being, is tied to the place where she is right now, this island. It calls to her, and so it ever shall, while one stone stands upon the other. This is her birthright. Okay? Akron says, when Taryn says, Eilonwy doesn't want to be here, I have shown her what this contains. All the implements of magic treasured up for her. Power such as she has never known lies within her grasp. Do you ask her to cast it away? Okay? She's talking about this big chest that's near them. It's got all the magical stuff in it. She says, Eilonwy can control, can use all of that. You want her to turn her back on all of that power? And Eilonwy says, I am a princess of Lear. I want what is mine. Who are these who would take it from me? I see the one who frightened me in my chamber, a keeper of pigs. The rest I do not know. Gurgi then says, yes, yes, you do know us, etc. Okay. Gurgi raises his head, page 146. Akron bows kind of to Eilonwy, and then she points to Taryn, I'm trying to get their names, Taryn, Gurgi, Rune, Fluter, and Gwydion. And she says, which shall it be? The ill-favored creature who calls himself your servant? She's talking to Eilonwy. Gurgi raises his head. He doesn't know what's going on, while Akron whispers something in Eilonwy's ears. The girl's fingers move slightly. Gurgi's eyes widen in surprise and disbelief. He stiffens, clutches his head. Eilonwy's torturing him. But Gurgi says, When Fluter begs for Gurgi, no more, harm Gurgi no more, you shall have Mag, take him, and he lets him go. Gurgi crept forward a little way. This is page 147. His weeping eyes turned to Eilonwy. Wise princess, he murmurs. It is no wish of hers to fill poor tender head with harmful hurtings. Gurgi knows this. He forgives her. He does, even though he's just been tortured by her, Gurgi says, it's not your fault. I forgive you. Okay? 148. Mag says he's going to be king of all Prydain. And Fluter, King Mag the Maggot, does Achren promise you a kingdom? A scullery would be more than you deserve. Terran says they're false, these promises. And Achren says, Achren knows how to reward those who serve her, as she knows how to punish those who defy her. Mag's kingdom shall stand among the mightiest in the land. Notice that, he's not entire king, that is not king of everything. And Karakulur shall rise more glorious than ever. Its great hall shall be the seat of power over all Prydain. The Lord of Anuban himself shall kneel in homage to me. And then she whispers, Aran of Anuban shall cower and beg for mercy, but his throne shall be toppled. And she's no longer looking at them. It's like she's looking where?
At Anuban.
Okay, your gloss kind of tells you far beyond them. Is she looking kind of at a place in the distance? Or is it a time in the distance?
I think she's just
That's on.
thinking in the future. Just looking at what she's gonna do.
Okay. His throne shall be toppled. It was I, Achren, who showed him the secret ways to power. In other words, this is how powerful of an enchantress she is. She's the one who showed the Lord of the dead the power that he could get. He betrayed me, and now he shall suffer my vengeance. It was I who ruled Prydain before him, and none dared question my dominion. It's true. Okay? How long ago was this? How old is Achren? We don't know. We don't know how old Aran is. Thus shall it be once more, thus shall it be evermore. Gwydion, the lore tells of your, gives us a little clue, ancient rule. What is ancient? Is an 80-year-old ancient? No, it's old. Ancient's usually hundreds of years. And how you sought to keep hearts and minds enthralled to you. You tormented those who would not worship you. Gwydion goes on. And for those who bowed to you, life was little better than a slow death. I know, too, of the blood sacrifices you demanded and your joy at the cries of your victims. No, Achren, it shall not come again. Think you this girl shall lead you to it? She will obey me, as surely as if I held her beating heart in my hand. Your words are vain, Achren. That is, you're trying to convince us of this, but it's not true. They cannot deceive me. Do you seek to rule through the Princess Eilonwy? The enchantments she commands still sleep. You have not the means to waken them. It's just Achren's power. Achren, you speak beyond your knowledge. Rune. Oh, no, he doesn't. Since we've got the ball in the book. Rune, what the hell, man? What? Okay. So, 151, she says, the Prince of Mona speaks even without my urging. He shall speak again. Rune, well, if you're thinking about torturing me, he goes, you can try. It'd be interesting to see how much you could find out, since I don't have the first idea where the Peladrin is. So go ahead. Okay. And Eilonwy, I gotta skip. Eilonwy says, bottom of 151, thus do I vow, seek to defeat me and the girl shall die. And so we stand, Gwydion, life against life and death against death. Which shall you choose? Eilonwy, if they've taken my bauble, they must return it. Terran cries at this. And Akron says, this does not please you, assistant pig keeper? It pains you to be called stranger? Cuts more cruelly than a knife? What does she offer Taryn?
Her memory's back of Taryn.
I could give back her memory of you. And what cares an assistant pig keeper whether I or another hold sway over Prydain? Lord Gwydion himself cannot gain for you what you hold dearest. Indeed, he can only bring about her death, but I can give you her life. A gift only I can bestow, and much, much more. Notice she whispers. With me, the Princess Eilonwy shall be a queen. But who shall be your king? Would you have me set her free to wed a witless prince? Yes, Mag told me. What about you, assistant pig keeper? To win a princess only to lose her to another? Are these not your thoughts? Her eyes pierce him. Come on, speak. Tell me. Taryn, you shall have what you ask. But the words had come from Gwydion, not from Taryn. He says, you shall have what you ask. The golden paladin and the book of spells are buried at the broken wall near the gate. They send somebody down for them. And what happens? Bottom of 154. The spells get put into Eilonwy's hand. And she has the golden paladin too, and she's looking at it. She frowns and a strange expression comes over her face. As Taryn watched, horror-stricken, Eilonwy shuddered violently. Her head flung from side to side, one side to the other, as on pain. For an instant, her eyes opened wide, and she appeared about to speak. Her voice was no more than a gasp, yet in that fleeting moment, it seemed to Taryn she had regained some vague memory of herself. Akron commands her to read out the spells. The ball gets brighter and brighter. Quickly, quickly. And Eilonwy, Taryn realized in a surge of hope, was struggling against all that held her. And there's a reason why. Because she's holding the bauble and the book. Taryn cried out in despair as Eilonwy raised the glowing sphere and in a quick motion brought it close to the empty pages. Light flooded the hall. Gurgi threw himself to the ground, covered his head with his shaggy arms. The companions drew back fearfully, and Eilonwy throws the book down so that from the pages came out a sheet of fire. And even as the book of spells consumed itself in its own flames, the blaze did not dwindle, but rose ever higher. The scarlet curtains of the alcove blew outward. Akron is shrieking in rage and frenzy, and still clutching the golden paladin, Eilonwy crumples and falls. And what happens as a result of what Eilonwy just did?
Her castle gets destroyed.
The whole island sinks. Water rises up. Okay. Gwydion says, your power is inward, Akron. Taryn runs to Eilonwy. Fluter shows up. Mag has vanished. Gwydion yells at them, 158, save yourselves, jump clear of the walls, and they do. Okay. 159, Taryn wakes up. He sees Fluter, he sees Run, he sees Leon. She only wants to be friendly, Taryn says. Okay. Taryn says, where are the others? They can't find Caw. Taryn asks about Eilonwy, 160. He says, yeah, she's here. Gwydion's done what he can. She's still alive. 161, Taryn says, so Akron's dead? No, she's still alive. Gwydion, Akron too lives, top of 161. Though long she hung between life and death. But her power is broken now. This is the answer to the riddle, yet I did not know it until I stood before her in the great hall. When I understood that she would truly let herself go down to death before giving up Eilonwy, I knew she had lost command of all but the least of her own enchantments. The spells of Caer-Callur were her last hope. Now they're gone, and Caer-Callur lies at the bottom of the sea. We need fear Akron no longer. Taryn, I still fear her. Okay? He says, she spoke truth to me. Gwydion, it was a risk that had to be taken. I had suspected something of the nature of the bauble, as it alone could reveal the spells, so it alone could destroy them. Only then could we be free. Taryn, dare we awaken her? Gwydion, don't touch her. She's got to wake up on her own. I would have given my life to keep her from harm. I would give it now to spare her this, says Taryn. Ockran asked what shall be the lot of an assistant pig keeper. It's a question I've often asked myself. I see now the life of an assistant pig keeper is of little use or import. What did Rune say when Glug was demanding somebody to stick behind to stay to be used in the potion?
That his own life was cheap.
That his life was cheap. It was worthless. Taryn is saying the same thing here. Okay? Even to offer it for someone else is of no avail. Gwydion, Prince Rune would gainsay you. That is, Rune would disagree. Without you, he would have wandered lost and in mortal danger. Taryn, yeah, but that's because I swore an oath. Gwydion, and what if you hadn't sworn an oath? Would you not have done the same? Taryn, yes, I would. It was more than my oath that bound me. He needed my help as I needed his. I remember, too, when a Prince of Dawn, this is 162, aided a foolish assistant pig keeper. Is it not fitting now for the pig keeper to aid a prince? Gwydion, now notice this. Because what does Gwydion say at the beginning of the Black Cauldron? Taryn says, I did X, Y, and Z. Am I not man enough to be in your council of war? And Gwydion essentially says, it's not war that makes a man a man. He says, you got a lot to learn about manhood. Whether it be prince or pig keeper, middle of 162, says Gwydion, such is the way of a man. The destinies of men are woven one with the other, and you can turn aside from them no more than you can turn aside from your own. In other words, it is the duty of a man to help or aid another. Ockran says, and you, Lord Gwydion, you have put a cruel destiny on me. Death would have been a kindness, she says. Why did you deny it me? Why didn't you just let me die? See, he saved her. He could have let her sink, but he didn't. You have destroyed me, Gwydion, Ockran says. Do you hope to see me grovel at your feet? Are my powers indeed stripped away? And she says, one last remains. And she has a dagger. Ockran plunged it toward her own breast. Gwydion springs and stops her and says, your enchantments have ever been the enchantments of death. Seek life. Ockran. What does he mean?
That all she's done was to kill her people so she could be, higher above them. But she needs to now live to see others live.
Okay. He also means she needs to seek her own life. No life remains to me but that of an outcast. What does it mean to be an outcast?
You don't belong anywhere.
You don't belong anywhere. To be an outlaw means the law no longer protects you. So somebody can do whatever they want to you. Okay? She says, now I'm just an outcast. Leave me to myself. Let me do what I want with myself. Gwydion, find your own path, Ockran. Should it lead you to Caer Dallben, know this, Dallben will not turn you away. Taryn looks at Eilonwy and Gwydion says, last page of that chapter, do not lose heart. It is good that she sleeps and more healing to her spirit than any potion I could give her. Okay? Finally, she wakes up. We get the last chapter, the pledge. She says how Mag told her something happened. She needed to go with him. Taryn, 166. If only we could have warned you. Warned me? She goes, I knew he was bad. And yet you went with him? Of course. How else was I going to find out what he was up to? She says. You were so busy sitting in front of my chamber threatening to have a guard put around me, I knew there was no use trying to get any sense out of you. Gwydion says, don't judge him too harshly. He thought he was protecting you. She goes, no, I know. Okay.
Let's see.
Skipping a little bit. 167. She talks about the spell that Akron put her under, and then what changed once the bauble was in her hands. Top of the page. Then it was very strange. In the light of it, that is, in the light of the bauble, I could see all of you. Not with my eyes, really, but in my heart. I knew you wanted me to destroy the spells, and I wanted to as much as you did. She says, but it's as though there were two of me. One wanted to give up the spells, and one didn't. I knew it was my only chance to become an enchantress, and if I gave up my powers, then that would be the end of it. I suppose, she says to Taryn, I felt a little the way you did long ago in the marshes of Morva when you had to decide to give up Adion's magic brooch. She says, I don't want to talk about the rest. There's nothing left for me now except being a girl. Gwydion, more than enough cause for pride. Why? For all you chose to sacrifice, you have kept Akron from ruling Prydain. Okay? She says, I'm going to miss the bauble because she lost it in the water. And Ka shows up and drops the bauble into Eilonwy's outstretched hands. Okay? They agree that something needs to be done about glue. 169, Taryn says to Eilonwy, once you are saved at Dennis Ridnant, I shall stay no longer on Mona. I had hoped after all you'd been through that you'd come back with us. But Gwydion is sure that Dalbin meant for you to stay here. I guess he's right, but, Eilonwy says, one thing more I remembered at Caer Callur. Dalbin saying that there was a time when we must be more than what we are. Can it be true that being a young lady is more important than being an enchantress? Perhaps that's what he meant. I need to find out. So if I must learn to be a young lady, whatever that may be, that's any different from what I am, then I shall try to learn twice as fast. Why? So she can get home twice as fast. And they're sitting there, and up from the tide comes something else. Bottom of 169. She knelt, and from the foaming surf drew a battered object and stripped away the trailing seaweed. Taryn saw an ancient battle horn, bound in silver with a silver mouthpiece. She goes, it's all that remains of the island. What use it might be, I don't know and never shall. But if you promise, this is her pledge. If you promise not to forget me until we meet again, I promise not to forget you. This shall be my pledge. She gives it to him. So they promise not to forget each other. Taryn, but what pledge can I give you? I don't have anything. Doesn't even have a sword anymore. I have none other than my word. The word of an assistant pig keeper? That shall do very well indeed. Where has Taryn's word not been faithful in the past? Where has he ever not done what he set out to do? Okay, Taryn. And yet we must say farewell. You've got to go back off to King Rudlum and Queen Teleria. And he goes, you know you're betrothed to Rune. She says, wow. There's limits to having people make up your mind for you. Rune has certainly improved. I think this journey was the best thing ever happened to him. Someday he might even make a respectable sort of king, but as for being betrothed, did you seriously think, Taryn of Caer Dalbin, I'm not speaking to you. Well, not for a little while, because that's what she usually says. Okay? So she comes to know a little bit about herself. The next book, Taryn Wanderer. Taryn gets a new name. He's no longer Taryn Assistant Pig Keeper. He gets given the name Wanderer by people he meets up with. For the simple reason that describes him. He doesn't know who he is. And it's in that book he starts to learn. And we will stop there.